Have you ever wondered how the right technology can transform the mundane tasks of IT management into a strategic asset for businesses? Well, in today's episode, we're going to delve into the heart of data management innovation with a very special Mark Walsh, Vice President at a company called Tintri, which is a company at the forefront of revolutionizing how enterprise data centers manage and store virtual machines. So Mark will share his journey from a budding career in medical research to becoming a tech visionary inspired by the legendary tech gurus such as Steve Jobs, John Sculley and Wozniak. And with 35 years in the industry, Mark's passion for technology is not just about innovation. At the very heart of everything that he does, he's dedicated to solving real-world problems and reducing complexity in IT operations. And at Tintri, Mark and his team are redefining data management with their flagship product, Tintri VMstore. But this solution isn't just another storage system, it's an intelligent autonomous operation hub that drastically reduces storage management costs by up to 95%, giving IT teams their time back to focus on what really matters. Now, before I get today's guests on, it's time for me to mention the sponsors of Tech Talks Daily. And in an era where digital security is non-negotiable, legacy managed file transfer tools, they simply don't cut it now. So that's where Kiteworks comes in, revolutionizing the MFT landscape with unparalleled security credentials, including the much coveted FedRAMP moderate authorization. This isn't just about compliance though, it's about offering a secure, efficient platform for today's remote workforce. So don't let outdated technology compromise your security. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer. Get started today by going to kiteworks.com. That's kiteworks.com, where security meets sophistication. But now it's time to get today's guests on. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Chester, where Mark is waiting to share his story with us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Mark. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
I'm Mark Walsh. Was a biochemist working in medical research many moons ago and went into IT 35 years ago. 3 grown-up kids, too many animals and a motorbike. I run sales in EMEA for Tintri, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Data Direct Networks, DDN, which is the world's largest privately held storage company. We develop and sell a data management platform, which is purpose-built for virtualized environments. And we're not new to this. Even if you haven't heard of us, we've been doing this since 2008 and fixing lots of problems for customers since then. We always say that our most valuable assets are our Tintriholics. We've got a very large group of customers globally who refer to themselves, we didn't coin the phrase, as Tintriholics because they love the product and what we do for them so much. And the fundamental problem that we fix is we plug the gap between the huge data growth that's going on globally now in every sector. Everything is digitized at the point of origination now, but there's a huge skill shortage in storage management. So our data management platform fills that gap.
Well, it's a huge pleasure to have you on the podcast. I always try and find out a little bit more about my guests and their origin story. And it seems that you've got quite a backstory there. You have motorbikes and pharmaceuticals, etc. Can you remember where your passion for technology came from, or was there a moment that lit the spark in you that would ultimately put you on this path?
Yeah, there was. So I worked in medical research, Neil, and then I went into medical sales. I was a pharmaceutical rep.
Yeah,
loved it. It was great fun. And then I went on holiday many. So this is back in, 1989. Went on holiday and I bought a book at the airport called Odyssey, From Pepsi to Apple, by John Sculley, the CEO of Apple. And I was fascinated by this book, And he talked about how he was courted by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, wasn't it? And Wozniak, somebody I know, Steve Wozniak, and they courted him very heavily to join Apple, and he wasn't going to join. And then Steve Jobs said to him, "Do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugared water, or do you want to change the world?" And that's what turned the switch in his head. And I finished the book, and I turned to my girlfriend and I said, I want to work in technology. I want to work for Apple. And then I got home and I managed to get a place on the Apple Business School, and which was only a 2-week intensive course with Apple. And then I worked for an Apple dealer, and that was my first step into IT. But that was the book that sort of ignited my passion for technology.
Oh, man, what a great story. And I had John Sculley on the podcast. I think it was about 2018, something like episode 4. Yeah, something like episode 470. And sadly, I think Apple Podcasts only keep the last 2,000 episodes or so, but it is on my website somewhere. And he shared that story of when Steve Jobs come in, and he talked about so much about Wozniak. And
did he mention me on the beach reading the book?
He might have done, I'm sure he would have at some point, but... And, of course, we're not here to talk about John Sculley, I'd love to find out more about Tintri and this purpose-built solution, how you're transforming the way virtual machines are stored and managed in enterprise data centers. So just to set the scene for our conversation today, how do autonomous operations contribute to significantly reducing storage management costs? Because at a time where businesses are all challenged to do more with less during this economic uncertainty, it's a big topic, isn't it, right now?
It is a big topic. AI and autonomous operations, everyone's talking about it. And as I mentioned before, there's a huge skills gap in the market. There just aren't enough storage managers to manage data and extract value from data at the current rate the data is growing. And I don't see that the growth rate ever slowing down. So I like to think of it as self-driving data management. What we do is provide a 100% hands-off data management environment for customers. So they literally don't have to think about storage management once they install Tintri. And I liken it to autonomous driving. So I actually do drive a Tesla, Neil. Oh. And I got hooked on the that side of things 4 years ago. I've had the car for 4 years, love it. And it's got a semblance of autonomous driving. But for me, as a user, the point of autonomous driving isn't just because it's interesting and exciting. What does it actually do for you? And right now, it doesn't do anything for me. It's a bit of fun. I can show off to my friends a little bit with it, but it really doesn't change my life. But I always think if I had a fully autonomous car, and one day I'm sure they will come, and I could sit in the car, maybe get in the back of the car, and use the commute time and the travel time to do something else, something worthwhile, some work, tap away on emails, spreadsheets, whatever, then that would change my working day, probably shorten my working day significantly, because it would turn that dead time of driving into useful time. So that's what we do. We give back time to our customers, huge amounts of time. And that's right from the installation, the sort of period, the box is truly plug and play. We talk about the pizza challenge. We had some customers who for fun decided to order a pizza when they plugged when they opened the cardboard box with the Tintri VMstore in it, and to see if they could serve data to virtual machines before the pizza arrived. That's how quickly and real the installation process is. So we save time right from the installation. There's no performance tuning. There's no daily management required. And we save huge amounts of time on the problem resolution side. So the net of all that is that by using Tintri, Enterprise Strategy Group did an economic validation study, and the figures in their paper say that the customers using Tintri realize an 89% reduction in storage administration costs and a 35% reduction in 5-year total cost of ownership. So it's not just interesting technology; it makes a difference to the daily lives of our customers.
And in a former life, I worked in IT. I was in an application management team and looking after all those applications, all the things that can go wrong. being the guy in between the applications team and the network team.
Yeah.
Is it the application at fault? Is it the network at fault? All those difficult conversations. And one of the things that stood out to me about Tintri is this integration of real-time analytics for optimizing application performance. Felt quite groundbreaking to me as someone who used to be in that world. So can you just elaborate on how these analytics function from day one and the kind of impact they have on application performance, workload management, and indeed the support of those applications too?
Yeah, I love that, Neil. So you will totally understand when I refer to finger-pointing meetings.
Yeah, like the Spider-Man meme, right?
That's right. So we do away with finger-pointing meetings. So the real-time analytics makes the actual product truly hands-off. And many of our customers say, I just forget that I've got it. We plugged it in 3 years ago, and because we've never had to touch it, we forget we have it. And so in a traditional storage environment, the storage managers or the sysprobs, the systems analysts, whoever, whatever the title is, these people will be spreading workloads across spindles to maximize the performance, creating LUNs, provisioning storage, and managing all that on a spreadsheet. Whereas with VMstore, they plug it in, and the product learns what the resource requirements of the applications, the performance requirements, and allocates the necessary resources automatically. So a very performance-hungry application would get a wider swim lane. And we totally get rid of the concept of noisy neighbors. So sometimes storage performance is impacted by a very I/O intensive application, sort of either being turned on or just increasing its use of the resources, like an accounting application at month end, for example. And there's no noisy neighbor concept in the Tintri world. And I liken this one. I like to use analogies, Neil, because I'm a simple soul. And I liken this to being in McDonald's. So if I go to McDonald's and I'm between meetings and I just want to buy a Big Mac and fries, if I'm in a queue and there's only one till, and then the person in front of me orders 20 meals, 3 Happy Meals, and lots of other things, all of a sudden you think, oh, your heart sinks. This is going to take ages. That's the equivalent of in the virtual machine world of a noisy neighbor. What Tintri does, it opens a new till, and you get your own teller, and you're not impacted by what the person next to you is doing or what the application next to your application is doing. And that's how the real-time analytics really benefit the end user, because they're constantly analyzing the performance requirements of each application and tweaking them in real time. But on the finger-pointing meeting side of things, we can, a real scenario, and you just described it. Sometimes the first time that IT operations realize there's a problem is when the help desk phones start ringing off the hook and the application has slowed down. And that's usually because of latency somewhere in the stack. It could be the storage, it could be the servers, it could be the network. And the people responsible for each of those elements of the stack quite often will blame each other. And quite often storage gets blamed, Neil. And I've seen these problems literally at customer sites literally take hours, days, or weeks to actually diagnose. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but I remember a specific problem at a very large and one of my favorite customers many years ago. They had a network problem, but they couldn't identify where it was. And they didn't know whether it was a CPU problem or a storage problem or a network problem. And we literally can diagnose and identify where the latency is instantly with 2 clicks of a mouse. That, I believe, is unique, Neil.
Yeah. I was getting flashbacks listening to you there with those dreaded log files that suddenly crashed the server when they fell up the space. And the heated arguments between the ops guys and the applications guys, both are so fiercely passionate about their particular area of expertise. And when the poor person from the service desk comes over and tries to blame the network or the application, Man, all hell can break loose, can't it?
It can, and that passion is great to see. It just reminds me of a very large customer, a bank, a UK bank that used to be one of my customers, and their senior IT management did something which I thought was really groundbreaking at the time. They swapped the heads from different departments. So storage went to servers went to network, and vice versa. And it really improved things. It improved the sorts of the cooperation between the teams. So yeah, those finger pointing meetings are real.
Yeah, they really are. And also got to bring, I mean, we've been talking, 15 minutes, and we're only just going to bring in AI and machine learning. So we've done really well saying it's 2024, but the use of predictive analytics and machine learning in forecasting, storage and computation needs, it's another vital aspect of data center management now. So how does Tintri's technology enable organizations to accurately model those future needs and also perform those what-if analysis as well? Because again, so important right now.
This is something that comes with with every VMstore appliance, and is a revelation to many customers when they realize that, they haven't paid anything extra for it. It comes with the box. It's part of the way we do things. So we use machine learning, as you've said, and predictive AI to help customers with capacity and performance planning. And it's a cloud-based application. It's a SaaS application. And we collect up to 3 years of real data about that customer's environment. So not just industry standard or average type. It is that customer's specific growth and performance data over a period of up to 3 years. Then the customer can log into that SaaS platform and they can do what-if scenarios for up to 18 months in the future. So what if I added X number of new servers? What if I added a new application? What if we merged with another company that had another 500 VMs, or we acquired another company? What would that do to my infrastructure moving forward? And although we are a storage company, customers get that data for the compute platform as well as the storage platform. So they can make very intelligent, longer-term acquisition plans for storage and servers and run lots and lots of different what-if scenarios. And when customers try it, they absolutely love the power of it because it's based on their own specific environment.
And I've also read in the past that you've mentioned that customers often describe Tintri VMstore as their best employee. So can you explain how this technology not only automates time-consuming IT tasks, but also what that automation means for IT teams in terms of things like strategy and innovation? Because it feels that IT have moved on from just firefighting and solving all those problems or reacting to being more proactive, and strategy and innovation, huge part of that, right?
Absolutely. It's that particular quote. I don't think I was there when it was said the first time, but I have met the customer. I met him at VMworld a few years ago in the US, and he came onto the stand and he latched onto the fact that I was a Brit, and he was chatting away to me, and he said, "Have you heard of the quote that Tintri is my best employee, and it never asks for a rise?" I said, "I have." He said, That was me. And it was a customer who runs IT for a very large networking provider in the US. And storage managers, as I was sort of saying before, very hard to find. I don't think it's a dying skill, but it's data is growing so quickly that it's very, very hard for companies to, even if they can afford them, to find enough storage managers. But also the tasks that storage managers have to manage are varied and keep them very, very busy. So what Tintri does, it takes away all of the mundane housekeeping, the constant performance tuning, the need for spreadsheets to work out what the capacity will be in 9 months' time, and should they go to procurement and start a procurement cycle right now. So Tintri takes away all the mundane activities, and as the customer very eloquently said, it never asks for a rise.
Absolutely lovely. And another topic we've got to explore here is protection, of course. So in the era where cybersecurity threats are ever present, how do you at Tintri ensure things like data protection, particularly through the concept of immutability? How does that safeguard against any potential breaches? Because with things like GDPR, etc., and how quickly you have to report those breaches now, again, another huge topic. Hey?
Yeah, it's and this is one, Neil, where, of course, ransomware attacks, sadly, are commonplace, and it's a real sort of hot topic right now. It has been for the last few years, and immutability is often talked about. From day one, from 2008, in fact, we started selling the VMstore in 2011. So the company was founded in 2008. We started selling products in 2011, and the platform, the VMstore, uses a process of immutability and has done from day one. But I guess the events in the marketplace mean that is now a really, really valuable feature to lots of customers. And we talk about, we said that our product was immutable before it was cool, because it was inherent in the architecture from day one. And another analyst, DCIG, in a research paper, said that we offer our customers an intelligent advantage, even though we're not strictly seen as a ransomware protection company. So using all the analytics inherent in the product from day one, we can identify an attack and facilitate a rapid and precise recovery, because we're constantly analysing the activity of virtual machines and SQL databases. And we can set up the product to send alerts to the customer about, we call them movers. So when a virtual machine sees massively increased activity, that could be due to something legitimate. It could, but the customer would generally know. They would know that they were rolling out a new application or another 500 users. They would know about that. But if they see a massive spike in activity on a virtual machine or a database that is unusual, they weren't expecting it, then we refer to that as anomaly detection. And that can very often be an indication of a ransomware attack. And I liken that to the clever technology that the banks use. You know, if you do something unusual with your bank card, like if I went out now and went to 3 salad shops and bought 3 salads, I'm sure that the algorithms at my bank would say, hold on a minute, why is he not at the pie shop? And they would probably stop my card. So if we detect something different using the real time and the historical data that we have in the predictive analytics, if we see something unusual, we can alert the customer to the fact there may well be a ransomware attack in progress. And then our management platform, which is called Tintri Global Center, will make recommendations to the customer very quickly. Now, the customer can either, at that point, decide to manage things manually, or they can simply press on the execute button. We will make recommendations. And I guess almost inevitably, the first action will be to suspend activity. But then we can help the customer go back through snapshots, because customers can set up with just a few mouse clicks how frequently they snapshot their environment. And it can be every minute if they choose to do that. And then we can help them go back through, or they can do it themselves on the SaaS platform, back through previous snapshots to a point just prior to the activity increasing, and they can roll back to there. And as a simple sales guy that uses an Apple Mac on a daily basis, I liken that to Apple Time Machine. So I know if I have a problem, I'm always confident I can roll back to a whole image of my laptop prior to something going wrong. And that's how simple it is to work with Tintri. And of course, the snapshots and the metadata pointing to those snapshots is invisible to the ransomware, which is where the immutability comes in. So, yeah, that's how a day one feature of our product helps our customers with this very real and sadly common ransomware threat.
And a few moments ago, we was also talking about the importance of a strategy and efficiency in an era of economic uncertainty. So from that side of things, managing those purse strings, how does Tintri's solution influence the way organisations might plan and budget for their IT needs, especially considering the dynamic nature of enterprises' data requirements? Because almost everyone is completely unique, or at least the clients think that they're unique, right?
Yeah, they do, and you're right. It could be really unpredictable. I remember many examples of customers who have got everything under control, and then you go in one morning and say, "Oh my goodness, we're merging with another company. We've got no idea what that means." Or we're rolling out a new ERP system. The boss has just told us. So this is where our predictive analytics comes in, Neil. It's very accurate in terms of storage and server requirements, and the customer can play around with an infinite number of what ifs, and from that they can build a financial, a budget, if you will, of requirements for up to 18 months in the future, which is really invaluable. And I've found over the last 2 or 3 years that one of the big bonuses of the predictive analytics and this ability to help with budgeting and planning is because in the tech market for a good period of time, and still now, lead times on technology really stretched out. They were incredibly long, up to 12 or more months for certain pieces of hardware, and we really helped a lot of our customers plan ahead and place orders in a timely fashion with their other suppliers, for example, server vendors, so they didn't run out of computing capability.
Wow. And if we dare to look forward, how does Tintri's technology prepare organisations for future application deployments, especially as we're talking about things AI, and every business is almost trying to go all in on AI at the moment? What, on the other side of that, what role does AI-driven analytics play in that preparation stage?
Yeah. So application development and deployment is a huge area for us. Some of our very, very largest global customers use us as their application development platform. And the big reason for that is it's not particularly the analytics, I'll come on to that, but it's the ability to rapidly spin up, tear down and do waterfall testing on many thousands of virtual machines. Because of course, to get an application to market quickly, which is what gives our customers competitive advantage, then developers really need to be able to develop and test new applications on real data as near to real time as possible. So with a couple of clicks, our customers using VMstore can spin up thousands of VMs, do testing, do that as many times in a day as they want. And we believe right now that the greatest number of inbound inquiries through our website are about application development. But the other advantage, which is what bringing in the predictive analytics side of things, is that developers can test the impact on their IT stack of a new application in real time using snapshots and in conjunction with our predictive analytics, and see basically what the impact is of rolling out a new application before it goes anywhere near live. So they never get into a situation where they roll out a new application and the dreaded help desk phones start ringing. Timing is great on this, Neil, in that I am not sure whether I can name this customer, but we just literally in the last few days received a new case study. It hasn't been published yet, for a well-liked and known pensions provider in the UK, and it's going to press literally in the next few days. We've just approved the draft, but this customer, and I'm going to read the words out here because I've got the quote in front of me. So literally, this is in the last few days now. We went with Tintri because it just works. It would take 4 or 5 times longer if we had to spend our time provisioning LUNs to machines, and we'd need a much bigger team, which is something we just don't have. And it's wonderful to hear that coming from a real customer. And we were in competition with an extremely large vendor for that business, who came in and said, and they had a good sales pitch. They said they could do what we do. So, we were up against it. So the customer decided to run a proof of concept, and it turned out that the other vendor could never. They used a lot of scripting, days and days of scripting, and still couldn't do it. So that was a really that's a really sweet win for us, because we were able to prove that we could do exactly what we said in our sales pitch, and that was all application development and rollout.
Wow, that's incredible. Kudos to you and your team for that. And if this podcast goes out after the announcement there, let me know the link and I'll add it to the show notes so people can check that out too. But before I let you go, Mark, any advice that you'd give to a tech leader who might be navigating the complexities of modern data center management, particularly in the context of integrating AI and real-time analytics into their operations? Because it seems to be all anyone's talking about at the moment. But any advice that you would offer? I mean, again, in particularly when you shared that press announcement that's coming up there, especially about selecting the right provider as well, and ensuring that they can do what they say they're going to do too. It's important, right? Because I think there's so many businesses now pitching for jobs saying they're AI when they're not even AI in some cases.
You've literally read my mind, Neil. It's a difficult one, this, because I'm thinking, there's all those super smart business leaders out there, and so I don't want to be trying to teach anyone to suck eggs, but in my experience, the market's wonderful now. There's so much really exciting technology out there, but there's so much hype, and I would advise people to really be ruthless on checking on buzzword-based claims, particularly something like AI. I mean, some companies have even changed their web suffix to .ai. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can deliver anything around AI or they really understand it. So I would say beware of buzzwords and really check them out, and almost go back to the basics of buying and keep asking, what does that mean to me? Because there is so much cool technology. And it really is exciting. It's I'd love to be 25 years younger and starting out again now, Neil, if I'm honest, because it really is exciting. But an exciting piece of technology doesn't necessarily deliver real operational and financial benefits or competitive advantage to a customer. So I think it's really important to keep asking the vendors, well, that's great, it's exciting, and I can see that it works, but how will it benefit my operation? And use case studies and reference calls. I would pick up the phone to customers who are doing the similar things to you and ask them, what they went with. Because I think, as I said at the beginning about our Tintri-holics, we always say that our customers are our best salespeople.
Love that, and it's a perfect moment to end on. But before I do let you go, we started the podcast talking about your origin story, what put you on this path and your fantastic career. But I'm going to ask you to look back on your career now. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you and ask you to leave one final gift to everybody listening. Yeah. That is a book that means something to you that we can add to our Amazon wish list, or a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist. Guilty pleasures are allowed, but all I ask is, what would you like to leave everyone listening with, and why?
Okay, Neil, I've been very lucky here because I've already had a chance to mention my book, which was Odyssey, From Pepsi to Apple. And that was the book that inspired me to leave medical research and join the technology world. So I suppose that's a freebie for me now. But the other one, the song, now this really is not cool and trendy, Neil. it might even be embarrassing, if my friends are listening. But there's a song that I find incredibly motivational at times when I really sometimes we all need to be pulled up by our bootstrings. And wait for it, it's Fighter by Christina Aguilera.
Oh!
And there's a reason for that. So 10 years ago, Neil, my eldest daughter, who's fine now, she's 25 now, she was 15 then, she was very ill. And she's now super fit, super happy, and works in technology sales, Neil. So all good, it's a good ending. But 10 years ago, when she was very ill, and we as a family, we were doing everything we could to help her through it, we sort of somehow stumbled across that song as our family song. And I remember dancing around the kitchen with my wife and my 3 kids to really motivate our eldest daughter. And it's just a song that, even in business, if I need to pick myself up and I'm in the car on the way to a meeting, I wind up Christina Aguilera, Fighter, and I'm ready to go.
And that is an incredibly cool story. So I will proudly add that to the Spotify playlist. And hey, you got me in a generous mood now. You've inspired me. I'm going to get the book on the Amazon wish list too. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about anything we've discussed today, where would you like to point everyone listening?
So basically, if people go to Tintri.com, there's lots of case studies there that potential customers can leave can leave questions on there. We'll come back to you very quickly.
Perfect. Well, I'll get those links added to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. For me, this is one of those episodes that add it all, from your origin story and that guy walking into an airport bookstore, picking up a book on John Sculley and how that transformed your world, and to now providing solutions that combine autonomous operations with these real-time insights, AI-driven analytics, and enabling organizations to reduce storage management costs by something like, I think, up to 95%, I read. And when your customers say the Tintri VMstore is their best employer, you know you're doing something right. And then to finish off with that inspirational song choice as well.
Thank you for your time. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So many big takeaways from our conversation with Mark there, from autonomous data management, learning how Tintri VMstore's AI-driven analytics and autonomous operations are changing the game by learning application requirements and automatically allocating resources, reducing admin costs by up to 89%. And also how Tintri's integrated analytics can instantly identify performance issues, forecasting future needs with machine learning, and offer that what-if analysis capabilities for up to 18 months in advance, and ultimately remove that finger pointing that happens whenever there's an incident. Of course, we're in an era where cybersecurity defences are bound to fail at some point. It was great to hear about the critical importance of immutable snapshots in Tintri's strategy that help protect and rapidly recover data. So as we explore the transformative power of Tintri's solutions, I think I'd love to open this up and invite you to reflect on the potential of technology to not just solve problems, but also help you anticipate and adapt to future challenges. So the big question to every single one of you listening, wherever you are in the world, how can you and your organisation leverage autonomous data management and analytics to stay ahead in this fast-evolving tech landscape? I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's discussion. How do you see the future of data management impacting your business? Please email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. All you need to do is look for @NeilC.Hughes, nice and easy to find. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. And if you go to podcasts, you'll find a list of more than 3,000 podcast interviews. If you look for episode 470, you will find that one with John Sculley, which I think you'll find on Spotify, but I'm not so sure on Apple Podcasts because they do only show the last 2,000. And because we've hit over 3,000, some of that golden content from back in the day is often lost. But that's it for today. So thank you as always for listening to this podcast. Hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow. If you don't make it, don't worry. Until next time, don't be a stranger.